All right, so today is chapter 2, section 5, titled The Function of the Miracle Worker. This section I highlighted a lot. It was almost like every single sentence needed to be highlighted a different color because every single sentence had a different idea. And so I'm going to do my best to sum up a few highlights. This section built upon yesterday's section in the sense that, again, it highlighted the function of magic, which is the miscreative use of the mind. And when we attribute power to things that are inanimate and we believe in that power, we are practicing magic. And then it also talks about this vulnerable element to miscreation that we have. And if we have a sense of vulnerability, then we should not attempt to practice miracles. Let's see. In section 3 of this part, it says, I've already said that miracles are expressions of miracle-mindedness, and miracle-mindedness means right-mindedness. The right-minded neither exalt nor depreciate the mind of the miracle worker or the miracle receiver. However, as a correction, the miracle need not await the right-mindedness of the receiver. In fact, its purpose is to restore him to his right mind. It is essential, however, that the miracle worker be in his right mind, however briefly, or he will be unable to reestablish right-mindedness in someone else. And I interpreted this as faith and faith healing and belief. And so I used to have this belief that somebody might not be healed because they don't have faith. But this kind of puts the element out there that it doesn't really matter what the receiver is believing in. What matters is the person offering the healing. And so they need to be in their right mind, even if but for a moment. And I think on that because there's been a lot of times where I've offered prayers on behalf of somebody and wondered how much intention I have to place or how much I have to really intend for that person to be healed, or if it just can be a matter of, yes, I have faith they're going to be healed, I pray for them, and boom, it's done. And this points out that even if it's brief, if we are in our right mind, we can offer a miracle to someone who is not in their right mind or someone who is not in a place of faith. So that was really clarifying for me. All right. The healer, this is section 4, the healer who relies on his own readiness is endangering his understanding. You are perfectly safe as long as you are completely unconcerned about your readiness, but maintain a consistent trust in mind. So really the crux of everything is relying on Jesus to do the miracle and not so much worrying about our readiness, but have consistent trust, which to me I interpret as faith and belief and knowing. If your miracle-working inclinations are not functioning properly, it is always because fear has intruded on your right-mindedness and has turned it upside down. All forms of not right-mindedness are the result of refusal to accept the atonement for yourself. That's really powerful. If you do accept it, you are in a position to recognize that those who need healing are simply those who have not realized that right-mindedness is healing. And then going into the next section, the sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself. So it sounds like it's easy. This means you recognize that mind is the only creative level and that its errors are healed by the atonement. Once you accept this, your mind can only heal. And so by releasing the mind from over-evaluating its own learning device, we can restore the mind to its true position as the learner. This section is really, really full. I continue to highlight almost everything down the page from this, talking about only the mind is capable of illumination, spirit is already illuminated, and the body itself is too dense. And so really the mind is the area that we need to focus on. The mind, however, can bring its illumination to the body by recognizing that it is not the learner and is therefore unamenable to learning. The body is, however, easily brought into alignment with a mind that has learned to look beyond it toward the light. In section 7, I underlined so much here. Corrective learning always begins with the awakening of spirit and the turning away from the belief in physical sight. This often entails fear because you're afraid of what your spiritual sight will show you. I said before that the Holy Spirit cannot see error and is capable only of looking beyond it to the defense of the atonement. There is no doubt that this may produce discomfort, yet the discomfort is not the final outcome of the perception. When the Holy Spirit is permitted to look upon the defilement of the altar, he also looks immediately toward the atonement. There's a really interesting idea, and this is the first time I've seen it in the text so far, and I like it a lot. There is this notion that the Holy Spirit is some third identity in the Godhead, and that the Holy Spirit has some sort of consciousness of its own, but it's united with the Father, and I don't know, at least in some circles, that seems to be how it's described. And I've even heard it said by some that when the resurrection happens, the Holy Spirit will finally get his resurrected body. But this is putting a different idea altogether. And I'm not sure what the bulk of humanity believes about this, but right here, it's implying that the Holy Spirit is the part of us that is connected to the divine. And that when the Holy Spirit for each one of us is permitted to look upon the defilement of the altar within, he also looks immediately toward the atonement, basically for reconciliation. And so we could say he, Holy Spirit, or she, Holy Spirit, based on your gender or who you are. I don't know if that's correct or not, but it's just kind of my thought and my understanding of what this is saying for anybody who might not be kind of clocking with that rationale. I think that's what it's talking to. And interesting enough, holy, another word to say holy is set apart. Holy is something that's set apart or different from something that is common. And spirit is another word for that level of intelligence, which is in connection with God. So a set apart connection with God could easily reflect that idea that I just shared. Okay, so that's the first place that was put in this text so far that I've caught. And okay, so nothing he perceives, meaning the Holy Spirit, can induce fear. Everything that results from spiritual awareness is merely channelized towards correction. Discomfort is aroused only to bring the need for correction into awareness. Okay, and then skipping down into section 8. As long as you believe in what your physical sight tells you, your attempts at correction will be misguided. The real vision is obscured because you cannot endure to see your own defiled altar. But since the altar has been defiled, your state becomes doubly dangerous unless it is perceived. So it's kind of stressing the importance of cleaning that altar and healing the altar. Into section 9, healing is an ability that developed after the separation, before which it was unnecessary. Like all aspects of the belief in space and time, it is temporary. However, as long as time persists, healing is needed as a means of protection. This is because healing rests on charity, and charity is a way of perceiving the perfection of another, even if you cannot perceive it in yourself. Woo! How about that definition of charity? I'll read that again. Charity is a way of perceiving the perfection of another, even if you cannot perceive it in yourself. And so then it kind of goes into discussing how a lot of the things that we work on are time dependent, but charity is a weaker reflection of a much more powerful love encompassment that is far beyond any form of charity you can conceive as of yet. So charity is kind of a lesser degree of love encompassment. And that's really what we're aiming for in the end. Charity is essential to right-mindedness in the limited sense in which it can now be attained. And the next section goes on to talk about charity further. And I underlined that this part. I said before that only revelation transcends time. The miracle, as an expression of charity, can only shorten it. It must be understood, however, that whenever you offer a miracle to another, you are shortening the suffering of both of you. This corrects retroactively as well as progressively, meaning that the miracle can heal all directions in space and time. So into the past and into the future, into the present, obviously. and it shortens the suffering of both of us, and it transcends, the miracle as an expression of charity can shorten time, which is really cool. So that is it for this section 5 in chapter 2, the function of the miracle worker. And really neat stuff. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it as I share mine throughout. And it's really neat to have a different perception of sightedness, and seeing with the spirit transcends the vision of the body. And when we connect that into the mind, we can really see things as they are and begin to step into this space of miracle working. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Go ahead and leave me a comment if you watch this, if you have any. And I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, have a blessed day. We see you tomorrow.